Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? All right, so Fundora fans, you want the good news or you want the bad news first? Let's go with the good news. The good news is Fundora, he wins his fight against Ocampo. It was a 12-round unanimous decision. The bad news is after watching that performance against Ocampo, Fundora gets annihilated by the likes of a Jermell Charlo, or a Jermell Charlo, I should say. If Crawford moves up to 154, he destroys Fundora. I believe Brian Castano beats Fundora, and maybe even Tim Tszyu. I've been telling you guys for the longest, man, defense is the most important attribute to have in the sport of boxing. It doesn't matter how good you are offensively. If you don't have a great, responsible defense, you will not have a long career in the sport of boxing. And if you do, you'll have a long career as just a journeyman, a gatekeeper. And when it comes to Fundora, his biggest drawback is his lack of defense. It's amazing when you think about the fact that Fundora is 6'5" and he still doesn't know how to control distance, control range. In this fight against Ocampo, Ocampo was actually outboxing Fundora in like the first 3 rounds. He was completely controlling the fight. The first 3 or 4 rounds, he won all of those rounds. And then because Ocampo, he was having so much success hitting Fundora at will, he decided to switch it up and fight Fundora on the inside. Once he started fighting Fundora on the inside, that's when it was more of a back and forth even match. Now, towards the middle rounds, it looked like Ocampo, he was starting to tire. And it looked like there was a good chance that Fundora would get Ocampo out of there. I mean, the ref even walked to Ocampo's corner and told them that he has to protect himself or they're going to stop the fight. After they said that, Ocampo came back out and he actually won some of the rounds. And the fight got so competitive that Fundora, he decided to abandon fighting on the inside and he went back to boxing and throwing nothing but jabs. Which is interesting because when Devin Haney was fighting George Kambosos, the main punch that Devin Haney was landing in that fight was the jabs. But he was mainly throwing nothing but the jabs because Kambosos was not really open for anything else. He wasn't open for the right hand. But Ocampo, on the other hand, he was open for every punch. And yet Fundora, he still decided to go on the outside and throw nothing but the jab. But credit to Fundora because it did work for him. He won those last 2 rounds clearly by throwing nothing but the jab. Because by this time in the fight, Ocampo, he was completely fatigued. But when Ocampo wasn't tired in the first 3 or 4 rounds, he was actually countering. He was taking away Fundora's jab with his own jab. He would jab over the southpaw's jab and catch Fundora with everything in the book, right hands, hooks to the body, etc. Fundora going 12 rounds with Ocampo, not being able to knock him out and going back and forth with him. I'm talking about in a very competitive fight. It really makes Errol Spence look just that much more special. It just shows you there are so many levels in the sport of boxing because Errol Spence, he knocked out Ocampo in the first round. And keep in mind, this was an undefeated Campo who had all the energy in the world. He wasn't fatigued because it was the first round. Fundora actually had Ocampo extremely tired. He was basically gassed out, and Fundora, he still couldn't take out Ocampo, which means there's a serious lack of versatility when it comes to Fundora's skills. He does not know how to adjust the way a fighter like an Errol Spence would be able to, or even a Jermell Charlo, which spells disaster for Fundora when it comes to fighting against any of the top guys like Jermell Charlo once again. Let's see how it all plays out. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.